Hello, everybody. This is Darren Redmond again for the first time. And as you probably know by now, if you are any sort of fan of the NHL, the trading deadline has come and gone. Who did well? Who stayed pat? Who STB'd? There's really nobody else I'd rather ask these questions to than Jake Redmond. This is somebody who knows the sport very well, played the sport throughout his teenage years. Now he does senior league hockey already at 20. And Jake Redmond, thank you for being on today with us.
Hey, thank you for having me.
So there's a lot to unpack because it seems like, you've mentioned to me, privately, and I've seen some of your comments that there have been other years where there's been more activity, but this year's been more dramatic activity. So let's unpack that a little bit. What would you say was the biggest move during the trading deadline?
I mean, bar none, it was the Miko Rantanen trade to Dallas. Before we get into that, I need to ask your opinion on something, Darren, Dad, whatever we should call you.
Hmm.
Um, your podcast is known to ask your guests some sort of random or whatever you may call it questions. You have your question about the McDonald's, and
Hmm.
do you go for the burger or the fry first? I have a question for you.
Sure, I'm ready.
Tiny Dancer, one of the greatest songs of all time, yes or no?
Absolutely.
Awesome. That's all I needed to know. what,
No, it's
what
it's very good. I think that Tiny Dancer and Levon are his two best songs. Elton John's two best songs.
Perfect. Hey, that works for me. But no, to answer your original question, 1,000% the biggest trade at the deadline was the Miko Rantanen move. You have, well, first off, because I already know this is going to be one of your questions. Um, the biggest winner of the deadline was Jack Roslovic, who many of you may not know who he is, and that's okay because he's not a household name. Jack Roslovic is a forward on the Carolina Hurricanes, and when Rantanen originally went to Carolina, he gave up number 96, um, for Rantanen so he could take it. And in turn, Rantanen paid Roslovic with a Rolex so he
Wow.
can have the number. You may have seen the Mets with Juan Soto. Juan Soto bought, I think it was
Brett
Batty
Beatty. Brett
or
Beatty.
Beatty,
Yep.
yeah. Bought him the $100,000 SUV. Well, Rantanen bought Roslovic, the Rolex.
Right.
13 games later, Rantanen's gone. So in my opinion, Roslovic is the winner of the trade deadline.
That is an
Um,
unbelievable take. That is awesome.
no, absolutely. Um, you know, it's a seismic trade. I mean, it's incredible. For years upon years, it was oh, the Pacific is wide open. Oh, the Central is just the Western Conference in general is just wide open. And in the Eastern Conference, it was always about the arms race. You
Yep.
have Dallas, who just added, Miko Rantanen, who's one of the premier goal scorers in the league. Signed an 8-year extension, $12 million a year. If you're the Colorado Avalanche or the San Jose Sharks or any of the up and coming teams, you're gonna have to deal with him for the next 8 years. Um, you know, then you have the Colorado Avalanche, who I just mentioned. They traded for Charlie Coyle, Brock Nelson. They're going to get a healthy Gabriel Land or 70% at least Gabriel Landeskog back for the playoffs. Um, it's a huge trade, and it's something the league hasn't seen since Matty Tkachuk got traded to Florida.
So you would say Dallas is the most beneficial of benefits most of this trade deadline, or would you say a team like Toronto Maple Leafs? Talk about what happened with them.
So Toronto's they're in a weird spot. This is the either the first or the second deadline that Brad Treliving has been at the helm for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Obviously, prior it was Kyle Dubas for a number of years. Dubas didn't necessarily leave them with a bad core, but he left them with a core who they couldn't make it out of the first round. Um, whether it be Boston or Washington or just there was always a team that just had Toronto's
Oh,
number.
it was wash, rinse, repeat with Toronto just losing to Boston every year.
No, exactly. Toronto has their core four and Austin Matthews, Mitch Marner, Morgan Riley, and John Tavares. That's and William Nylander. I mean, they have some great talent,
Oh, no doubt.
but the problem is there's nothing much after that. So Toronto went out. They got Brendan Carlo, who is one of the better top four defensemen in the league. Definitely not a top pairing defenseman. He's more than likely going to be playing alongside of I almost said Brandon Tanev. We'll get into that here in a minute. Chris Tanev, his brother. You have a core, or you have a great defenseman in Morgan Riley back there. But that Carlo trade is huge. Toronto is a weird, like I said, they're in a weird situation. They've never been known to go out and get the premier talent. The last time they did that was John Tavares, and before that, I mean, who knows? Um, they always get guys who are top four defensemen or top six forwards, but it's not like the Rangers who went out and got Panarin, or you know, even the Sharks who went out and traded for Erik Karlsson. They like their guys who can play big minutes and who when it comes to crunch time in the playoffs can win. So that's why they went out. They got oh my gosh, I messed it up again. Brandon Carlo,
Mhm.
and they went out and they got Scott Lawton and paid a hefty sum for him from Toronto. Gave up a first round pick for a guy who's going to be your fourth line center.
But if you want to make a deep run, and again, I'm not saying that, and again, you know much more than I do, but you know, I'm one of these people that are like, I respect and throw flowers at draft picks, but again, that's just guesstimate. There's so many people, STB, I keep using that term, but it's true. Whether they're, high price talent or draft picks, if you have a person, for example, if you think that your need is a fourth line center and you want to get deep in the playoffs because the pairings that you're going to go up against, whether it's Boston, just to use examples, or whoever are deep, I make the trade.
Well, here's what I equate it to. The Florida Panthers, who is arguably the second largest rival to the Boston Bruins, just went out and traded for their captain Brad Marchand.
I was going to bring it up. Thank you for doing it.
If
Segue.
and that's exactly why I brought it up. If I'm Toronto, I'm not giving up a first round pick for anybody besides Brad Marchand.
Mhm.
Granted, Boston would never trade their captain to Toronto, but if
But
there's a
trade him to the Panthers.
exactly, and that's sort of the point that I'm trying to make. You know, it, if there's a price to be made, Marchand's the guy I go for. 11 times out of 10. It's you're looking for a difference maker, you're looking for somebody to get you over the hump. Look no further than the rat himself.
Yes, and that's who he is. What is that?
I have no idea. Oh, this is fun.
Did you play that?
No,
That's
those
weird.
those would be the ladies downstairs. That's coming out of the speaker that's above your head.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Ladies and
Well,
gentlemen, thank you for the musical interlude. I hope you liked it all. But
go ahead and
let's
edit that out.
let's move forward. There's no editing. Let's move on.
I guess.
Oh, there we go. Yep, that's what that is. We'll have to edit that up. But listen, we're going to be ending soon anyway. But yeah, I mean, I thought that when that happened, walk me through with you your reaction because that shocked me.
What's that? The Marchand to Florida?
Marshawn, yeah.
Um, so it's funny. I was talking to a very good friend of mine. Um, he lives not too far in Connecticut. Great gentleman. He's been a Bruins fan for years. He's somebody I'm fortunate enough to call a friend. He's seen the Whalers go through there, the Wolf Pack. He's seen Bridgeport Islanders. he's been around the hockey community for a very long time. Diehard Bruins fan. How do you trade your captain to, send him out to LA, send him out to Colorado, send him out to Dallas?
Oh yeah.
Don't send him inside. I don't care if you're
Send
not
him to
making the
Utah and
playoffs.
call it a day.
No, exactly. Yeah. It's ridiculous. Um,
Listen, I live in Massachusetts, and I think it's shameful what they did.
wow, you live in Massachusetts too?
Yeah, I do.
Oh,
You should come
yeah.
over sometime.
I'll see you for breakfast.
Sounds like a plan.
um,
So we both have a friend, the voice of the Fresno Monsters, Brian Rivera, who believes that the Colorado Avalanche had a wonderful trade deadline day. What do you think?
well, I'll tell you what. They went out. They got Brock Nelson around midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. Yesterday, as we're recording this, it's March 8th. So Friday around 1 a.m. Went out and got Brock Nelson. Great. Colorado's a team that's been dying for a second line center ever since Nazem Kadri left. Obviously signed that 7 year, $7 million deal in Calgary. Um, just absolutely. You think of playoff players, you think of Matthew Tkachuk, you think of Sam Bennett, you think of Brad Marchand, and you think of Nazem Kadri. Huge loss for
Mm-hmm.
the Colorado Avalanche. But you get the opportunity to bring in a guy of the likes of Brock Nelson, who hasn't had as much playoff experience, but just a guy who is an absolute gamer. He'll go in, he'll go in the corners, he will score 3 goals, he will have a 30-goal season, and he will win you playoff rounds. That's exactly what you're getting in Brock Nelson. Also, coincidentally, 33-year-old man going on 73. That that hairline is not long lasting.
He
but
no longer has a forehead; he has a six head.
moving on 7.
All right.
But talking
Wow,
about
taking shots.
no, we love Brock Nelson. I'm also a Rangers fan. I hate him. But it's
Yes.
okay. So, in addition to Brock Nelson, they also traded with Boston. They traded Casey Middlestat, who they originally brought in to be the second line center. Traded him, William Zellers, a prospect and a conditional second round pick. Got back Charlie Coyle in a 5th rounder. Charlie Coyle, he's been around, man. He's gonna
Yes.
be a perfect complement to that third line. You pair him with, Valerie Nichushkin. You pair him with, I would say, Miko Rantanen, but we already touched on that.
Right.
Arturi Lekkinen. I mean, you got a very good 1-2-3 punch there. There aren't many teams. The Rangers have JT Miller, Vincent Trocheck, and Mika Zibanejad down the 1-2-3. Dallas with Wyatt Johnston, Tyler Seguin. Colorado may be up there for the best 1-2-3 punch in the league now with Charlie Coyle and Brock Nelson.
I want to go back for a second to the Panthers and tie this into the whole trade deadline without going into tangents. Based upon the results from yesterday, does anybody stop the Panthers from going to the finals?
1,000%. And you may not understand what I'm about to say, but themselves.
No, I get that. I get 100%.
If there's going to be somebody to stop them, it's going to be themselves, or it's going to be a very hot Dallas team, or, and drum roll, please, if you may.
Drum roll.
My Stanley Cup prediction, I'm giving it here live for the first time ever, is the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Champions?
1,000%.
You know what? All right, good. That's nice. I like hearing that because it'll be nice for them. I mean, they would tick tape parading, getting out of the first round. I mean, and I get it. Don't get me wrong. There's no snarkiness to it. So you're saying they're going to make a jump from finally getting out of the first round to winning the Stanley Cup?
Well, here's what it comes down to. Now, let me preface this by saying there is no team besides the New Jersey Devils that I hate more as a Rangers fan than the Toronto Maple Leafs.
But you're being fair. I mean, you are analyzing your choices.
They've gone through so much, adversity. The fan base is, they love their team, especially the people that live in Toronto. They love the hometown team. You have John
That's it. You mean the
Tavares,
same hometown team that was booing Austin Matthews in the One Nation tournament?
the exact same, although that was in Montreal. But I mean,
But
same
you know what I'm
difference.
saying?
Yeah.
Yep.
But John Tavares is in his last year of his contract, 7 years, 11 million, signed July 1st, 2018. Pajama Boy, as some may call him, because when he signed with the Maple Leafs, he posted that photo of him in the Toronto Maple Leafs pajamas and the bed sheets and whatnot. You have Austin Matthews, who has been absolutely invisible this year due to his, health issues. He's going to be ready to go for the playoffs. You have Mitch Marner, who's playing for a contract. You have John Tavares, who's playing for a contract. You have Morgan Riley, who he just wants to win. He's been with them since 2014. And you have, Anthony Stolarz back in goalie, who just came out of nowhere. Career backup,
Yes.
whether it be with Philadelphia Flyers or the Florida Panthers. If they're going to do it, it's going to be this year. And I think they're going to catch a lot of teams by surprise.
I listen, your analysis, I can't argue with. I mean, there is the inspiration of desperation. The window is closing. And it's not that they're all getting old, but when you're playing for your contract, that's pretty intense. And again, Boston won't be there because their usual nemesis. You have is Carolina as good as they used to be? I don't think so. I'm just trying to think who's going to take them out.
Carolina's not a team you count out ever. You
Yeah,
have Rod the Bod Brindamore, on the bench there. They just traded for Logan Stankoven, who has all the tools to be just as good, if not better, than Miko Rantanen. They have Sebastian Aho. They have not Jake Gensel, not anymore at least. He's on Tampa. Um, they have a deep squad there. They have Jacob Slavin on the back end. They have Peter Kochetkov. Um, there's a very good chance that Carolina may finally, you talk about teams who have been failures in the playoffs. Look no further than Carolina, besides Toronto, obviously. Carolina always has a great regular season. They're always ready to go. And, to be honest with you, I mean, I thought, oh, yeah, 2 first-round picks, 2 third-round picks, and Logan Stankoven. Great, great return for a Mika Rantanen who's not going to sign for you. But then you factor in that they traded Marty Necas, who is, one of the top up and coming players in the league, future 100, multiple 100 point season getter. I mean, I don't know, but they're an absolutely phenomenal team. If they're going to make it past the first round or the second round, it's going to be this year. I think that this playoff race is wide open. I think a team like
I
the
agree.
LA
I agree with you.
I think a team like the LA Kings, who
Oh,
they're
every,
third or second in the Pacific.
yep.
They just traded for Andre Kuzmenko yesterday for a 7th round pick, I believe it was. Or no, that's way too low of a return. It was a 3rd round pick. Um, they traded a 7th along with him. I think if he gets back into his rookie season form, when he was originally with the Vancouver Canucks, I mean, there's no stopping them. They're a great team as well. They got Anze Kopitar. They got TJ
You know how I
Byfield.
feel about the Kings. They sleep. Everybody sleeps on them, and then they end up doing very very well. And
They're the reason
you
I
know,
can't sleep at night.
trust me, I watched that show that was the Stanley Cup Finals with the Rangers, and though those overtime losses. And listen, nothing but flowers for the Kings. They earned it, and but boy, it was so annoying because I really felt like the better team lost, and that was Hank's year to shine, and it came up a little short. And then the Kings barely made the playoffs a couple years later and won the Stanley Cup again. So that's who they are. Don't sleep on the Kings.
Darren Redmond playing tummy sticks with the Los Angeles Kings here, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep, true.
um, yeah, I mean they're a good team. I think they're destined for a good run.
All right, I got a couple of questions for you. Since you asked me that one question, I got a couple for you that are not specifically hockey related. You ready?
I will make them hockey related. Let's do it.
All right. Ice cream truck comes around. What do you get?
SpongeBob pop. I don't care how old I get, you will always find me getting the SpongeBob popsicle. The gumball eyes, the cherry, the cherry in the middle. There is not there is nothing in this world that is better than a SpongeBob popsicle. I will take that to my deathbed.
I really thought you were about to say there's nothing better than taking a cherry from SpongeBob. I just thought that was weird, but okay. No, I get it. Uh,
Look, whatever you think about, it's on you.
Nobody's around. You're by yourself. You have a little tomato soup and you have a little grilled cheese sandwich. Are you dunking the grilled cheese into the tomato soup?
First off, tomato soup is a absolute sin. There's nothing worse in this world than
Wrong.
tomato soup. Well, you also have a right to your
No,
opinion,
yeah,
but you also have a
agree.
right to be wrong.
I get it.
Chicken noodle soup is the superior soup. I don't care what anybody says. If there's one
I
food that I can
agree.
eat for the rest of my life, it's chicken noodle soup. And yes, I am dunking that thing like it's a donut.
Yeah, very. Speaking of donuts, what's your favorite? Hockey related. There you go.
Boston
What's your
cream.
Boston cream? And that's not because you live in Massachusetts. It's
No, I live in Massachusetts, and I will go on record saying that I hate Bostonians. I've never met a nice Bostonian.
wow, kids. All right.
No offense to you people from Boston, but
We
all the
love we
offense
love
in the
you.
world.
Yep. But hey, listen, no, listen. But see, you're fair. We went to TD Gardens together. What did you think of the baby garden, as I call it?
It's a great place to watch a game. Granted,
Hmm.
I've been to four different venues in my life. I've been to TD Garden, SAP Center, where the San Jose Sharks play, Honda Center where the Ducks play. Actually, five. I've also been to AT&T where the Golden Knights play.
Hmm.
Um, Out of all of those venues, I have to say, TD Garden is my second favorite. SAP Center, for as boring as it may be, for as expensive as their pretzels and their popcorn may be. I mean, you got to take out a second on the house, if you want to
Hmm.
buy a thing of popcorn. It's always going to be the best place to watch a game. But
Over Vegas?
Vegas was just expensive. I mean, we paid $175 just to watch from the nosebleeds. Granted, I also went to Madison Square Garden. Granted, it wasn't for a game; it was for a concert.
Yeah, but you're
But
going this season. You're going this season.
thankfully, yeah. I mean, Garden's always going to be number one for me.
Yeah. And
But
but so SAP, I'm shocked. I really am because first of all, and it's a subject for a different time. That place is empty.
it depends when you go. But here's the thing, and I may be biased because I grew up in California,
No, I
but
get it.
California sports fans are the most passionate sports fans out there. You either your team 49ers, your team Raiders. Regardless, if you're team 49ers, you bleed red and gold.
Yep.
If you're team Raiders, I mean, not anymore, but you bleed
But
black
let's
and
be
gray.
look.
They're
They
always
may
going to
be
be
in
Oakland
Vegas. They'll
Raiders.
always be Oakland Raiders. Correct.
Yeah. Same goes for the Oakland A's. For the little
Yep.
fan base that they had. I know this is, you're mainly a baseball guy, but they're always going to be the Oakland A's.
Agreed.
Um,
And how does it feel, by the way, to have played outdoor hockey on the same field that the A's will be playing this year? Their games.
it's embarrassing. It's great for me,
Not for you.
obviously.
I was say not for
Yeah,
you.
no, it's wonderful. I get to say I shared, the same air as some, potential MLB or potentially as some MLB players. But I know we're talking about the trade deadline. This is a trade deadline special. Can we talk about what's going on with Oakland Athletics or the soon to be Las Vegas
Hey,
Athletics?
don't they play in the same place that you guys won a tournament in overtime with a shorthanded goal by somebody? Wasn't it great?
Well, yeah, but to me that's like being a fine dining chef working in a 5-star Michelin restaurant and then
Hmm.
going to work at McDonald's.
Gotcha. Well, anyway, let's talk about the Oakland team. Go ahead. Or former Oakland team that now plays in Sacramento. Go ahead.
You just The Bay Area is in for those of you that haven't been to the Bay Area, it's such a wonderful place. I was hoping to go to college at San Jose State.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do so, just due to different things going on in my life. But that was, from the age of maybe 13 or 14, that was the place to go. I wanted to go play college hockey there, just far enough from home, but, just far enough to be living on my own pretty much. Bay Area is absolutely beautiful, whether it be
Love
San
everything about it.
Jose,
Mhm.
Oakland, some parts of Oakland, San Francisco,
Oh,
you have
beautiful.
Alcatraz. I mean, there is truly not a better place to be than the
You know,
Bay
it's
Area.
very interesting without getting too personal, people who are listening and watching. The women in our family love Southern California, and you and I love Northern California.
Exactly. You can have days where it's 100 degrees,
Hmm.
but you're also, you can drive 2, 3 hours, be in Oregon,
Hmm.
and,
Oh, yeah.
just go to a nice snowy cabin.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah. But I bring all this up because just just as beautiful as the Bay Area may be, I've never seen a more passionate fan base than the 49ers. And, I haven't known many A's fans in my life.
Oh, I
But for the
have.
A's fans that I mean, they're diehard.
John English is one of them, the former voice of the Frozen
Shout out to
Monsters.
John English.
That's
Hope
right.
you're doing well, my friend.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I mean, they're unbelievable. Um, but I bring all this up because you go to a Sharks game, the best seat in the house costs you $65.
Hmm.
And that's on Ticketmaster, SeatGeek, or whatever you may use. And hopefully one day this podcast will have a sponsorship with one that would absolutely love it.
Oh, it will.
SeatGeek, if you're listening, that's all on you.
Yep.
Um, but you go to a Sharks game, you spend $65, sit on the glass. You see absolute legends playing, and Patty Marlowe and Joe Thornton, maybe even kick it old school Nikolai
I'm
Habibulin.
cutting you off right there for a good reason. If you look at it that way, you're right. I understand where you're coming from now. That's 100%.
And can I just say, out of all, I've met a couple of athletes in my life. Out of all the athletes that I've met, nobody has been nicer than Patty Marlowe. Patrick Marlowe played for the Sharks for a number of years, played in Pittsburgh for a cup of coffee, ended up in Toronto. I was fortunate enough to play against his son Landon, who is one heck of a hockey player. Um, but yeah, absolute one of the nicest people I've ever met. But
And you hold on, you do you, but I think there's probably a tie. Him and I would say Killer.
well, killer. I mean, there's being a nice hockey player, and then there's being Kevin. Kevin
Right,
Kaminsky.
exactly.
Kevin Kaminsky, he can do no wrong. That man.
Correct. Correct.
He will punch you until next week, but he's one of the nicest guys ever. Also, shout out to John Morasti as well.
That's right.
Um,
You know a lot of people, my friend.
yeah. Also, Clint Malarchuk.
Yep.
Absolute wonderful, wonderful person to be around. This is Dano Chara as well. Fortunate enough to meet him.
So you were playing with his son. What was that like when you were on the ice against him? Again, I guess we've moved on from trade deadline. What was that like? Are you like, hey, this guy's somebody's famous dad? Do you chirp him? Like, what's that like?
So, um, I have something even better than playing against Landon Marlowe. Um, but as far as Landon Marlowe goes, I mean, he was a great hockey player.
Yeah, it was.
As far as I know, he's still playing. Um, he only played a couple of games in our division. Just because we were seated in the lower division, that's fine, whatever. Um, but you're like you have that game circled on your calendar. You're playing against Landon Marlowe's team. He's not the captain. He's not the assistant captain. It's Landon Marlowe's team. Patty's probably going to be there somewhere. Um, but it went even further than that. I grew up watching YouTube, and I remember vividly there was this one video that I watched, and it was Patrick Marlowe and his kids, and he built them an outdoor rink, and there was a video of them skating out. This is probably 2012, 2013. And next thing you know, I got the ACDC pumping in the headphones, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to play against Landon Marlowe. You know, so it was a very
I tell you,
surreal
boy,
situation.
of course, I wax poetic about, the years you playing up there and that whole facility, that SAP training facility. Now they built the new rink for the AHL team, the Barracuda. But right? I mean, am I wrong? You could walk in that place, have something wonderful to eat, and you can meet star after star, shark after shark, just intermingling with the common folk and the common folk treating them like, hey, he's here to watch his son play. Leave him alone. Talk about that.
So I've been to 20 to 30 states at this point, whether it be soccer or
Hmm.
driving through to get to Massachusetts.
Or,
Um,
or for your own playing career.
well, yeah, even that.
Hmm.
San Jose Airport is my absolute favorite.
Right.
Which is a little weird to a little weird of a segue. But I bring that up because as I'm going through San Jose Airport, we're flying out to go to New York for summer vacation, and I see an old San Jose Shark, Melker Carlson, who unfortunately his career was cut short due to injury. Um, he's what's known as a glue guy, never going to be a
Hmm.
top player, but definitely one of the more premier sort of players. Um, and I bring that up just because he's sitting there and you see people looking at him and they recognize him and know, oh, he plays for San Jose, for the Sharks. No sooner do you see that as he's walking over to them and he's signing autographs and he's taking photos and just it's unbelievable. To your point, just San Jose and the Bay Area, it's a beautiful place.
So I'll leave with this sort of again, just what you're talking about. We move from California to Cape Cod, and we're not here too long. And I forget the gentleman's name, coach of the Stanley Cup champion team of the Vegas. Was it? No, it wasn't when they were Vegas. Who was
Bruce
it?
Cassidy.
Yep. Talk about that story. How again, you who knew very well who he was and everything else, and the people around us just let him have time with his family. Talk about that.
So first of all, um, Bruce Cassidy, absolute gem of the media. He's known for being one of the funnier guys as far as media is concerned. Um, he played in the NHL for a couple of years. Primarily a AHL
Hmm?
player, but he got hired to Vegas. It was his first year in Vegas. Just got fired from Boston. Um, lost in the first round against Carolina. All of a sudden, he's in Vegas,
Yep.
and Vegas in their first year went to the Stanley Cup Final in 2018 against the Washington Capitals, where Alex
Hmm.
Ovechkin won his first Stanley Cup. Well, first year as the Vegas Golden Knights head coach, Vegas goes 51-22-9, first in the Pacific. You know, they had a great regular season. Boom, let's go ahead and have an even greater playoffs. Boy, do they have a great playoffs.
Yeah, they did.
They
Listen, the whole world was rooting for them. America, at least. What a great team that was.
no, exactly, yeah. So they go up against the Florida Panthers, younger team, definitely hungry, but Vegas was hungrier. This is the second time they've been in the Stanley Cup Finals. You have a veteran coach in Bruce Cassidy who's been coaching since Washington in 2002, and Vegas goes out and wins the cup.
Hmm.
So we moved to Cape Cod June 24th, 2023. The Stanley Cup Finals was just a couple of days prior. We were sitting at a pizza place, and I look up and I go, "Oh, hey, that's Bruce Cassidy." You see a couple, everybody's staring at him, but you see a couple of people go up. He's sitting there with his wife, and they're there meeting a couple of friends, who coincidentally, by the way, Darren has the same birthday as you, exact
Thanks.
same day and year.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah, except born in Ottawa. I don't think you're from Ottawa.
Oh,
Um,
I don't know. Maybe.
but he's taking photos with everybody, and you know, it's just it's one of those things. It's like, wow, he's famous. Everybody's taking photos with him. Maybe I could go up there and talk to him and just say, hey, congratulations. But everybody was waving from afar, putting their
Hmm.
hands up, acknowledging, hey, you did a great job. He's a Boston guy, coached in Boston for a
Yep.
number of years. Um, and he was just on Cape Cod just to celebrate and, spend time with his family and, get ready for the next season. Um, you know, he's on like my top 3 lists of coaches that I'd want to sit down and just have a cup of coffee with. It's
Oh, I
him,
agree.
it's John Cooper, and it's a tie between Mike Sullivan and Mike Keenan.
Wow. I think that's great. You know, I was fortunate enough to buy a drink for Neil Smith, who was the GM of the
Really?
1994 Stanley Cup champion New York Rangers. And we had a long conversation. So that was, and just a wonderful person. We'll unpack that sometime and talk about that. But that was really, really great. And, it's very weird because I played collegiate football, love football, played at that level, coached collegiate football. And as you mentioned earlier, I love baseball. Right? I grew up on it, just love it. Couldn't hit a curveball, but I love baseball. Love everything about baseball. But yet the hockey culture, there's nothing like it. It's the best culture in the world.
It's addictive.
Yep.
I know we got to wrap up here soon, but I've heard you in podcasts past talking about the Fresno Monsters and
Hmm.
everything that organization has done.
Yep.
If you're looking for a world class organization outside of the NHL, look no further than the United States Premier Hockey League's own Fresno Monsters.
Oh, 100%.
Jeff Blair and Co just treat their players like rock stars.
Yep.
They love their hometown players. They definitely love their Swedes.
Oh, yeah.
But overall, the second you put on that Monsters, jersey, you're a member of another family. You have your own
Yep.
family, back in Canada or New York or Sweden or Czechoslovakia, and then you have your family in Fresno. Um, and I bring that up just because you think of all these NHL players and all these world class sort of athletes and whatnot. Fresno is a whole nother breed. You go in there, you see the fans, you see how passionate they are, you talk to the management. I mean, it's world class. It's genuinely like you're in the NHL.
And, and they just had a sweep. They swept the first round playoffs. They move on to the second round, and they do that. Then they get to nationals again.
Which Ontario is currently playing the Lake Tahoe Lakers,
That's
where
right.
they will be 3 hours and 22 minutes from now.
And they both play for the right to get waxed by the Fresno Monsters. And it's interesting. You mentioned Dallas. Look, I got to root for Dallas, because they look like the Monsters. And the Monsters are a great organization. I humbly was part of the organization for a long time as the director of hockey operations, and just some wonderful people there. And people, if you ever get a chance to bill it, please do so. It's so much fun and it's great and it's a great culture. Jake, any last words before I let you go?
Well, one thing I want to touch on. First off, I want to talk about the stadium series at the at Ohio
Oh, in
Stadium.
Ohio, right? Yeah, Ohio
You
State at
know,
the shoot at the Big U.
yeah, but just what they did for Johnny Gaudreau and his family.
Oh,
Columbus dressed up as Johnny Gaudreau, Detroit dressed up. Every single player as they arrived was wearing a different Gaudreau uniform. Throughout his career, whether that be with the Columbus Blue Jackets, Calgary Flames, Boston, or even with his minor hockey team. And not only was it Johnny Gaudreau's jerseys, but it was also Matthew Gaudreau, his brother, who unfortunately were struck down by an absolute, I don't want to get into any particulars, but just a drunk driver. If you're ever going to drink, make sure that you have a way to get home. Don't drive yourself. You know,
absolutely.
I'm sure the bar staff would much rather you spend the night there than going home. Call yourself a taxi, call yourself an Uber, a Lyft, carry your pigeon, whatever you got to do.
No,
Um,
listen. especially in this world right now where there's the Ubers and Lyft.
There's no excuse
There's
not
no
to.
excuse. It's a choice you make to put your life and other people's lives in jeopardy.
No, yeah, most definitely.
It's a great
And
point, my friend.
the other topic I want to bring up too, maybe just because I'm a Rangers fan, but I want to give my flowers to Sam Rosen. You
Oh
know,
yeah. Oh,
Dad or
mm,
Taryn, as you guys know him as. This is obviously my father. Um, you know, you and my mother, you guys did a phenomenal job raising me. You guys did 90%. Sam Rosen did the other 10%. Sam
oh,
Rosen
listen.
raised me plus a whole nother generation. Congratulations on an illustrious career.
There is.
You, Joe Micheletti, you
Mhm.
know, just there's not enough words that I can, put together to just, you know,
If you had to sum up Sam Rosen in 5 words that will live forever in your brain, what would those 5 words be?
the greatest of all time.
It's a power play goal.
Well, that too, but you know, he's just there's nobody better, and
No.
that's no disrespect to RJ
Oh,
or
great.
the in Buffalo, or
Mm.
the gentleman that did the Dodgers, Vince Scully.
Oh, Vince Scully and the
You know,
gentleman that just passed who did Pittsburgh. They
no,
put the
exactly.
biscuit in the basket. Great
You know,
stuff.
and rest in peace to Al Trutwig, who
Yep.
you know did a million years with MSG, sports. Unfortunately, we're gonna lose a giant of the industry this season. We'll see him around the Garden,
Yep.
and when I'm there in April to go watch my Rangers hopefully keep their head above water against the Tampa Bay Lightning, I only hope that I can meet Sam Rosen buying a pretzel,
Oh
and I
yeah.
would love to buy that pretzel for him.
And I hope you guys get there early, and just take it all in.
No, exactly.
So,
You know, there's absolutely nobody better than Sam
hey,
Rosen.
let's you and I meet up for dinner sometime. How's that sound?
How does 3 minutes from now sound? Because we're in the same household, 200 feet apart.
Sounds like a plan. Talk to you soon.
All righty.
Hey, listen, I'm very, very, very happy that you came on, Jake Redmond. Seriously, if somebody is looking to get in contact with you for a podcast or something like that, social media, how does somebody get in touch with you?
Um, Honestly, I'm not very active on social media. So, if anything, if you guys play, NHL 25 on the Xbox or the PlayStation, feel free to join our hockey league. It's called the Sixes Hockey League, 6hl.org. There's a Discord link on there. Feel free to join up. 1,500 members and growing. We're looking to have the greatest season of all time. Starts here March 31st. We open up and we'll be running till early to mid June. Yeah, I mean, once again, 6hl.org.
Love
Yeah,
that. Love everything about that.
number
Well,
6hl.
love that. Thank you, Jake. And we will talk to everybody again for the first time.